All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I just wanted to do a quick kind of channel update and talk about some things that we've been working on, just share some thoughts and stuff. So, those of you that have been following, we know that the Daniel Defense H9 has been a little bit of a problem the last few weeks since we've had it to kind of get it to running and stuff like that. And I think the main problem with it has been uh, the fact that because the action was kind of rough and the cycling of the gun was really rough, I was oiling it pretty heavy. I've kind of since cleaned up some of the action and the way it works and polished some of the parts. And so the action seems a lot smoother, but I still had some jams after because was keeping it really heavily oiled. And I noticed that about after 30 rounds, the gun would start jamming. So as I thought about it and just sat there and pondered what was going on, I realized that probably I was over oiling it and it was causing the unburnt powder and the carbon buildup to turn all that oil in the chamber and around the extractor into kind of a gritty, grimy, mess of garbage that was causing the round not to want to feed as good. So I think there's a good chance that was the main problem. The funny thing is after we kind of figured that out, we thought we would have it pretty well running 100%. And we run some more rounds through it to try to, because I would like to get at least 100 or 200 rounds through it, just at least initially to kind of feel better about shooting it, about the gun itself. I just like to have that positive feeling, hey, we've made it through 100 rounds without any problems. And I know it's capable of it, but I took it out again after I figured that out, that it's probably being over oiled. And we had another problem that was totally separate. The firing pin plunger spring that I had changed out because the other one was super heavy had bent on the end of the spring, and the end of the spring kind of unraveled and got caught up in between the slide and the plunger and was like jamming up the action. So it was causing the gun not to want to go in the battery because the finger that lifts up the plunger spring was catching on it, and uh, it was causing the gun not to want to reset because the striker was not moving properly, and had to figure all that out. I kind of took it apart, and I couldn't at first. I didn't think it would be that, so I didn't check that. But as I checked that, I realized that spring had bent. The end of it had unraveled and bent and folded under the thing or something, or got caught up on the sidewall of the slide. And so we bent that in. That shouldn't be an issue again. That's kind of just, it seems like you get these guns that run perfectly, or you get these guns that just tend to want to create problems that mostly don't hardly ever happen. And that's, it seems like I'll get one gun that's perfect and I'll get one gun that has problems, and then one gun that's perfect and one gun that has problems. And it's, also because I introduce problems by, upgrading, changing things. I'm wanting to make the performance of these guns a lot of times quite a bit better than what they come factory. And in doing so, I introduce new tolerances and differences and tuning that needs to be done. And sometimes I'm asking for it a little bit. But, the Daniel's a good gun. I think out of the box it would have ran pretty good. I don't think we'd have had any major issues. We did know it ran good out of the box for a few rounds, but we didn't shoot hundreds of rounds through it before we ported it and we changed a few things. Uh, we only ran, maybe a box of ammo before we started doing that stuff. So I do think it would ran fine out of the box. I don't blame Daniel Defense for the problems it had. Like that plunger spring was my fault. Um, the, also the changing the recoil spring could have caused some of the failures to feed as well. But there was definitely some problems out of the box with the action being a little bit rough when it comes to chambering around, picking up around, rounds going into the extractor. All that those parts were machined a little bit rough. So that was a little bit of issue that may not have caused malfunctions, but definitely made the gun not as smooth as it could have been. So we just bought the Canik Med A Mete MC9 Prime. We really like it so far. We're doing some trigger upgrades. We're getting a red dot for it, a green dot, I should say, a new green dot. So we'll have another green dot to review as well. So that'll be kind of cool. And so we're going to see what we can kind of do with it. We have ported it already. We've opened the front port on it. So that video is actually doing really well. All the work for it I'm going to be doing myself, so that's kind of cool. I mean, of course, I'm not making the springs, but I'm ordering some springs. I'm doing a trigger job. I did a custom, pre-travel job on the trigger already. I did the ports myself. So, yeah, we're not going to do a whole lot to it. It doesn't need a whole lot. There's not really a lot you can do with a gun that's kind of decked out like that already anyway, but we definitely are going to do what we can to kind of upgrade its performance slightly from what it was from the factory. So that's another cool project. We just posted a video on our first gear that we got given to us for the channel, which was the CV Life Wolf Covert Doctor Footprint red dot, green dot, I should say, as well. Green multi-reticle dot. And I don't know if that video is going to be very successful, because most people don't use Dr. Cut optics, so that dot's not going to be searched for a whole lot. But I'm pretty happy with how the video turned out, and hopefully I can at least give people reference that may want to send their red dots for review and send one free. Personally, I would not have picked that particular dot if I could have chose a dot. It's a good dot for what it is. It really is, for the price and what it is. The reticles are nice, but the Doctor Footprint's not really for me. I like the bigger glass dots, or if I'm going to do a smaller dot, I prefer it to be RMSC footprint. Anything RMR cut, I'm probably going to want the bigger glass dots. So I think going forward, I'm not going to do as much. Let's just say I don't think I'm going to do gear for people very often unless I really like the gear that I'm getting, or I think I would like it. If it's not something that fits into something I would want to buy, if it's not something that I would want to buy at a good deal, I may not even offer to do it for people if they want to send me something, because it's hard to be passionate about it. You make a 20-minute video, you're talking about 6 hours of work, especially gear that's under $100. It's just not really worth it for me. I'm not trying to be selfish or sound, arrogant about it, but, I want to make sure I'm getting gear that I'm passionate about and I enjoy, and I think you guys will enjoy, and there's reasons that, it stands out a little bit. It don't have to be expensive real expensive or super premium. It just needs to be something that I kind of am passionate about, as far as or think is really cool for me to bring to the channel. So I'm trying to decide what to do there. If somebody says, hey, here's a red dot, and it looks like it's something that I might not even use on any of my platforms, I'm trying to decide whether I'll take it or not. So that's another thing. I'm wanting to do a little bit more religious content, but not too much, because I want to present my faith to my subscribers. And I think a lot of my subscribers are Christian, and they like this stuff, but I know the gear is more desired, and we have a lot of non-Christian followers and subscribers, and I don't want to come across as, it's one thing to be proclaiming your faith and proclaiming the gospel, but I've seen those that proclaim the gospel and are super pushy and arrogant and forceful about it, and I'm not one of those people. I don't feel like that's what Jesus did himself when he came and spread the gospel in his ministry. I don't think he forced it down people's throats. The people that he could tell were out against him and trying to go against what he was saying, he actually was very careful with his words. He wasn't trying to, he was very careful and kind, but yet still truthful. And sometimes he was very, straightforward about those particular people, but at the same time, he wasn't trying to force himself upon them. And I think a lot of people do that, and I don't want to do that. So anyway, just sharing those thoughts as well. But just a channel update real quick. We got some, other dots that I have not got many rounds on. I need to get reviews on eventually. I have the Prodigy is I'm wanting to shoot it more. I need an ammo sponsor, so I'd love for an ammo sponsor to come along and pick me up and give me 1,000 rounds every 3 months. I would be pretty happy with that, actually. 1,000 rounds a month would be better. 1,000 rounds would be perfect for a channel, to prosper and make profits off of. 1,000 rounds a month would be a huge help to a channel like mine. But that's being a little bit wishful thinking for a channel of my size. I think even larger channels sometimes don't have a sponsor that gives them 1,000 rounds a month. But a lot of them make enough money to pay for that every month. So it kind of balances itself out. But yeah, guys, if you'd like to see anything or you've seen stuff on my channel you would like me to bring up or do an update on, let me know. I still got the SIG P226 that has been ported, and I haven't really shot it a whole lot. I think that gun's awesome. If I had to rank my SIG, and I would like to do a SIG and Prodigy comparison because they're very close in price. I think I did do a comparison not long ago, but we might dig into that more too. But if I had to rate which was better, the 226 X5 Legion or a nice Performance 2011, 2011 probably outweigh it a little bit just because I like the way it feels when you shoot a 2011 a little bit more than the 226, but not by much. I mean, they're so close, and it's cool to have something a little different, but that is almost as good. So I do like that gun a whole lot, so we might do more content on it as well. Sometimes it's even hard to remember what I've posted after like 200 something videos. So yeah, guys, just let me know what you think. Let me know what you would like to see from the channel, and we're going to try to get more content out there. It's hard with 3 kids. I've got a 2-year-old. Very difficult to make enough content that is really well done. I sometimes surprised I'm doing as good as I do, even though I wish I could raise the level of quality of my content. I wish I could raise the amount of time I'm investing in editing, and because I have a lot of good ideas, I have a lot of good knowledge of how to edit videos. I have a lot of good gear to show off. I could make, camera angles a lot better than they are. I could make drills and stuff up and bring you a lot of good quality educational drills for shooting. But just finding the time to do that with a family and a job is very difficult. So y'all just pray that I'll have the wisdom to make the right choices on the content and on how to invest into my channel so it actually grows and continues to kind of evolve into something better than what it is. But we always want to put God first, and everything we do in life for me is about God ultimately. I think God wants us to enjoy the world he created and the things that we do and the things that we love, but we got to interject him into every bit of it. So God bless. Have a great day. Please like and subscribe, and please let me know if there's anything you would like to see that I can do at this level of size that I am, it's on the channel. Definitely would like to do a lot more than we can, but our budget is limited to what we can do. And it has to be gear that I want at this point because I'm paying for all of it, or I'm paying for 99.9% of it. So just so you know, my last video on the Canik Prime has over 500 views, and it's barely made $2. So that's just a good, for instance, that's a pretty good video that's done pretty good for me this quickly because it's only a couple days old, but it only made me $2. So I'm making like $2 something a day from YouTube, and it's not nearly enough for me to justify going out and doing you know, crazy expensive videos, or buying gears just for a video, or coming up with a script, something funny to do. You know, it doesn't make any logical financial sense until the channel's making $100 a day for me to invest hours and hours into editing and planning. And even though I've got these great ideas, you know, I'm trying to do it as it makes sense, to be efficient and smart about it. So yeah, God bless. Have a great day. We'll catch you guys later, and we might do a devotional video here in a minute.